Welcome to a real super late night blog. So, as you can see in the title, we're going to be talking about a struggle that I went through not too long ago that now I feel comfortable, open, and honestly talking about. And this is for informational purposes only. I'm not a doctor. Don't consult me. I don't know anything about that. I'm just going to talk about my experience that I had. Okay, so let's go back 4 months ago. I was at work and I was like, man, my feet really hurt. Like, I'm just like having an issue. And so I showed my feet to a podiatrist that I work with, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, your ingrowns are pretty bad. You need to go and see somebody." I'm like, "Ooh," and of course I'm like, immediately like I knew like I've had these ingrowns for a long time, and I'm like, "Oh God," like I didn't want anybody to know about it. Like I was like, "Oh, this is really embarrassing," and blah 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 blah. And so I waited and waited and waited, and then in July, actually, it was June 26th is when I went. Local podiatrist that I went to is a really great guy, and he said, "Come on, I'm gonna do it at the end of my day. Don't worry about it." Blah blah blah. So I took my coworker with me because I'm a big crybaby, and I had a feeling that it was probably gonna be really really bad. And so she went with me just for moral support. And I work in the OR with this specific podiatrist, so I kind of already know. The procedure is called a chemical mechanical matrixectomy, and that literally just means taking part of the nail off. As graphic as that sounds. So, oftentimes in the OR with little ones or with people who have mental issues, we do them in the operating room, put them to sleep, and then take care of it. So I know how the procedure is done. I've seen it done 1,000 times, and that's why I've put this off for as long as I did. So anyway, I go in, he's like, "Okay, you already know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna go ahead and give you the shot." And that was the part where I'm like, "Oh man, like this is gonna be craptastic." And that's mainly why I had my coworker with me, because I was like, "Oh my God." All right, so I'm like, "What are you using?" He's like, "Lidocaine, and Marcaine." I'm like, "Oh great, so this is gonna burn." And he's like, "Yeah, pretty much. So just get ready." So anyway, he comes in with an alcohol swab, and my coworker's holding my legs down, and I'm like, "Oh crap." So he gave me a shot. So if this was my toe, here, and then one in the bottom. And it wasn't, when he was doing it, he was like freezing it with this spray that he had that was really, 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 really cold. And then like one, two, three, okay. And it wasn't the poke that got me, it was the immediate thousand fire sunburn that occurred after it, that I was like, "Oh man, this is really bad. This really hurts. What the hell did I come here for?" Anyway, so I held it together for the most part. I didn't curse or scream or yell, but as soon as he left the room, I started crying. I'm like, "Oh my God, it was so painful," because I'm a big baby. Like, I gave birth once, but like toe pain and mouth pain are the two pains that I don't do. Any other pain I can deal with. But anyway, so he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna have my medical assistant come in. She's gonna prep your toes, and then we'll get started." And I'm like, "Great! I already know all the instruments that need to be used." So his tech comes in, takes a little iodine swab, preps my toe, and is like, "Okay, I'll go tell him that you're prepped." I'm like, "Okay." So he comes in, and we have a device. Well, they have a device that we affectionately call the tourniquet, because it's basically a little real tight rubber band tourniquet for the toe, and they slip it over your toe. At this point, I was completely numb. Like, I didn't feel anything at all, and it was great. Like, even when she was prepping, I couldn't even feel, like, I saw her doing it, but it was like she was prepping the air. Like, I didn't feel it at all, which was great. So anyway, he comes in, he takes a beaver blade that is specialized for this procedure. It's a completely right angle square tip. It's very, very sharp, and they cut down the border of your nail. So what I had done was bilateral borders, both mechanical and chemical. So we'll get into that in just a second. So they cut down the nail and use a hemostat and clip it and pull it out. And then use a curette to get any additional tissue, sorry if that's too graphic, out of that space that they've now taken out, the nail. And then there are two little brown bottles of acetic acid, and I believe it's phenol. I'm pretty sure it is. I'm like I said, don't consult me. I'm not sure what the drugs are. And they take these specially shaped Q-tips that are very long and skinny, dip it in one solution, shove it in there, dip it in the other solution, shove it in there, and they do that about 4 times. And again, I didn't feel any pain at this point. It wasn't a big deal. So that was the procedure part. Then he put a antibiotic on a gauze and wrapped my toe in Coban, and then I got to go home. So I go home. He's like, leave it dry for the first 24 hours. Don't touch it. Don't wet it. Don't take a shower. Like, just leave it alone. I'm like, okay, deal. I don't even want to know what those bad boys look like. So, fast forward the next day, I left it alone. I left it alone for 48 hours because I was like, I don't want to get an infection. Like, I don't want to die. So I'm just going to leave these things alone and just deal with it. I work in the operating room, so I have to wear closed-toed shoes, which was not an issue immediately. But after my initial like dressing change and like soak, it was an issue. It was a crappy recovery on it, like really crappy. So let me think. A couple days goes by. I'm like, all right, finally, I'm gonna soak it. So get myself some Epsom salts. I've got triple antibiotic or Neosporin, and antiseptic soap, and then I also had hydrogen peroxide. So all 4 of those things I had to do, and it was a big pain in the butt. So you soak your feet in the Epsom salts, wash your toes down with an antiseptic soap, put the hydrogen peroxide, and then do Neosporin triple antibiotic and let it breathe. At night, you're supposed to cover it because I didn't once, and I stained my bed. So that was gross. They were extremely weepy and bloody and gross and bad looking for a long time. Like, I thought the swelling and all that was never gonna go away based on like how bad it actually got. So they tell you to keep your feet elevated. I highly recommend that you do, because your toes will have pulses in them because it's been traumatized. That's something that I like, oh my gosh. The other thing that I wish I would have known is that my entire toe peeled, like the skin peeled off, and I was like, I essentially had like when a snake sheds its skin kind of stuff. Sorry if that's too graphic again, but that's essentially what it was. And I was like, oh my god, I can't deal with this. So they were sore, they were weepy, they were bloody, they were crusty, they were nasty for about what it felt like forever. I really don't remember how long they were crappy, but so I kind of felt like they just kept, like the scab kept coming off and blah blah blah. And then one day I looked at them in like the recent future after I had it done, and they were really, really red and tender and warm. And so I got concerned that I might have had an infection, because the 3 things that are sign of infection, all of us surgical techs know, are heat, redness, and swelling. And I had all 3 of those. So I saw another podiatrist who's also in this other podiatrist group. And he was like, you know what, as a precautionary measure, let's just put you on some antibiotics. Keflex 3 times a day for 30 days. And I'm like, oh my god, more things I have to do. Like, in addition to like soaking them and washing them and putting this and putting that on them, now I've got to take pills. So I didn't end up getting like a full-blown, like, where it got infected and like bad stuff happened to my toes, but they were a little red and sore, for a little too red and a little too swollen and a little too hot for me to not have at least a mild infection. So I had to take care of that. Okay, so that was July or June 26th, and it's November 5th, 6th. So it's been about 4 months roughly, and finally my toes are great and healthy looking again. I did not actually realize how bad my ingrowns were until after now it's been healed and I'm fine again. They were so bad that like I had foot pain every single day, and I wish I would have done it sooner, because I mean, like, I let my own vanity essentially get in the way of me being comfortable and living a pain-free life. Like, that was the stupidest thing I think anybody can do, because the toenail's supposed to be growing flat. Mine didn't. They had that weird, like, kind of thing going on. So if you have ingrown toenails, please don't wait. Don't be embarrassed. Like, this was a very empowering experience for me, because I was super embarrassed about it, and now I can't even imagine, like, I would do it again if I had to. Luckily, I don't have to, because I got bilateral borders done, which means both sides of the toe were done. I don't have to do it again. God forbid it should come back. It will only come back as like a little, like, tiny nail. because the nail bed has been destroyed. So in just a minute, I'm going to show you my feet, what they look like now. Hopefully you won't get grossed out, because now, I mean, they're healthy looking and good looking. So yeah, you know, like you do. So yeah, those are my toes now. They aren't the best looking toes, but they aren't the worst looking toes either. In all honesty, like I said, I would do it again. The only thing that I kind of notice is like this part up here, like when you're cutting your nails like in the future, it looks kind of damaged and split, but the main thing is that you just kind of gotta cut it away and let it kind of go away. But enough of my feet. So yeah, don't be embarrassed. If you've got ingrown toenails, go take care of them, because you will live a horrible, miserable life until you do it. It's a crappy long recovery, and it sucks and it hurts. And if you're on your feet all day like I am, it really, really freaking sucks and hurts. But you know what? It is 1,000 times better than what it was before. And I feel so stupid for not just doing it way earlier. Don't be embarrassed. Happens to the best of us. Go get your ingrowns taken care of. But that was my experience. You know, it was a long recovery, it hurt, and it was worth it though. So keep that all in mind. 11 minutes. Bye.